things on here. Still got the little tag from Eva being here. I'll change to an angry Aussie one. There you go. Got the proper branding in now. Oh, how's everyone going? I got the comments happening too. Who's here saying hello, Aussie Gun Bunny and Megaleech and Fox of Fate and Luke and Stella. I think that's everyone who's been saying hello in chat while I've been waiting to get here. So I hope you're all well and good. Musical Aviator, hello to you. I think my little fruit cocktail I made up here. Got some lime and coconut and pineapple and lemonade in here. Strictly Seeger, hello to you. Oh, that's actually pretty good. I like it when you mix something up and it tastes good. Yeah. I'm trying to work out if the title I chose for this is in bad taste. Well, I think it is in bad taste. It's just how bad taste. It's, I always, try and not say that many times in one sentence. But besides that, I often try and come up with a title for the live stream that is somehow topical. And I looked at the news of the day, and the rather terrifying bushfires were right up there. To be getting out of control bushfires in September in a rainforest. Not good. Does not speak well for a country that usually has its worst bushfires in January, February, or even March, April, to be getting really out of control fires in September is extraordinary, and early September at that is extraordinarily bad. Speaks very badly for what the summer is to bring. Justin, 18 years ago was a normal day. Many New Yorkers' last day of their lives. Oh, that's right. I guess it was in our time zone. It was late September 10th when those attacks happened. I don't know about anyone else, but I missed it. Is it Australians who stayed up late, like with the TV or radio on, actually saw the news coverage of the September 11th attack, early morning news. Wait, was it? How does time work? Wait, no, maybe you're a day early, Justin. How does time work? That's a question for the ages right there. Okay, no, it was tomorrow night. So it was September 11th, our time. So it's only September 10th now. So it's another day until it happened. Yes, but I missed it. I went to bed comparatively early, I guess, and so I slept and turned on the morning news in the morning of September 12th, our time, and it was all over. I think by the time I woke up, I think both towers had fallen. I still remember it was really weird. There was a bit of video footage, and because video cameras were less common back in those days than they are now, but I know this doctor had a camera with him, and he was trying to go in and help people, hoping he'd be helpful, and he was recording as he went in, and then of course the dust was impenetrable for a long way around the World Trade Center when the towers came down. And I distinctly remember him trying to move closer, and it was just so surreal. And he actually said, "I hope I don't die." And I thought, and because there was this dust everywhere, and there was a little news ticker going across the bottom of World Trade Center attack, World Trade Center collapse. And it was with my partner of the time. And she was like, what the fuck is happening? And I was just looking at it going, this is some shitty disaster movie, because those words, terrorist attack, World Trade Center collapse, didn't make any sense. And I was trying to make sense of it. And I was like, no, this is a movie. That's what's happening here. This is a movie. And that's the big explanation. It's a movie. And it was like, it took a minute until it could sink in with me that this was a real thing that had happened. And oh, hi, Safa, by the way. I didn't say Safa. Yeah, that was truly surreal. That was an absolutely surreal thing, to think something like that could happen. But yes, and hi, Noog, how are you doing? The musical over, you were angsty and turned on the TV. Mum got angry, pulled the fuse out of the house to make you go to bed. Wow. Okay. Yeah, Jessica, I'm with you. It literally didn't seem real. Justin, that's the interesting thing that you raise. The footage we did see of it was scary. Imagine if social media existed. Well, we would have had today's level of mobile devices and social media being a thing, we would have got a bunch of live streams from the World Trade Center while the building was on fire. There were some recordings of people calling 911 while they were trapped in the building, and they were on the line until the building collapsed. And that one plane that the passengers fought back and it ended up crashing in a field, you probably would have got live streams from that plane. It is quite wild. That was, to me, possibly the weirdest part of the whole thing. It was too successful. Like, from the terrorist point of view, it was too successful because they can't hijack planes anymore, because no one lets a plane get hijacked. Because anyone know if you let a plane get hijacked, they'll crash it into a building. Like, literally, even if they start killing passengers, a pilot, because they all have, I don't know, I think all flights have fortified cockpit doors now. And even if they were killing passengers, they wouldn't open the door, because they know the end game now is not making a political gesture and taking the plane somewhere and it's using the plane as a weapon. Ooh, guess who just messaged me? Young Aidsy. I think he wants to join us. I hadn't heard from him. I best send him a link. I'm sure. Stop that. Stupid thing. It was like recording my voice. All right, so I have to send Aidsy a link so he can join us. That's easy enough to do. Let's compose. Aidsy, sending link. Send. All right, so I've sent him the link. So we should see him soon. Sorry, Stella, that actually made me laugh. You remember tourist footage at the time, Americans going, oh my God, and Australian tourists going, Jesus fucking Christ. No, you're not happy Parliament's been prorogued and you got hit with an egg at work. That's a bit rough. Where do you work that people throw eggs at you? Safa, when did I first use 3G? I am not altogether sure. I was talking with Mrs. Angry the other day. I know when I first got a mobile phone, because it was when my ex was pregnant with my daughter and she wanted me to be contactable at any time, which is very sensible. So that was 1997. I got my first mobile phone in 1997. And of course, that wasn't 3G. That was an analog system at that point. And I know the first carrier I got 3G phone was the old network that doesn't exist anymore that was actually called 3. They were really championing, they were a 3G network, the little independent, well, not really independent, but a smaller network provider was called 3. And then I think from memory, they got swallowed up by Vodafone. No, there was 3 and... Did 3 get swallowed up by Orange and then Orange got swallowed up by Vodafone? I don't remember exactly how it worked, but I know I had a 3 phone. My first phone was probably Telstra because there probably wasn't a huge amount of choice. It was this really shitty Motorola phone. And I know I was with 3 for 3G and I was with Orange at one point. And I think Orange got swallowed by Vodafone. With Telstra now, I have been for a while. And I don't remember if I just switched from 3 to Orange or if 3 got taken over by Orange. I don't remember. Hey, Mr. Stephen, how are you going? Jessica, your first phone was in 1999. You were 14. That was pretty adventurous for a 14-year-old back in 99. Yeah, Mr. Stephen, I know the names of the companies went a bit different, even though... So Orange was like a Dutch company, wasn't it? That's why they were called Orange, as in that's the national colour of Dutchland. That must be what that country's called. And I think the name changes went differently here. But at some point I swapped to Telstra. Just hearing people talk about prison for Boris Johnson. That's the suggestion, because there's been the suggestion that Boris Johnson was going to break the law. Namely, the people opposed to him secured legislation that said it's not possible to go for a no-deal Brexit. Like, they have to ask for an extension past October 31st. And there'd been a suggestion Boris Johnson would refuse to go along with that, which would actually be illegal. So, yes, and there are some people who are very angry at Johnson. I think one of the Tories in the House of Lords actually resigned from the Conservative Party, and in protest of what Johnson was doing. Yes, Safa, the UK Speaker, resigned. He'd been Speaker for 10 years, and apparently he resigned so the timing of his replacement would happen while Johnson doesn't have absolute power. So Johnson couldn't easily put a stooge in the role. That's right. Oh my God, Strictly Secret. I'd even forgotten that term, CDMA. Yes, I was on Orange with the CDMA network. I'd even forgotten that terminology. It was so long ago. Yes, Justin Churchill's grandson resigned. Boris's brother resigned. It's like he is really shaping up to be a failure of epic proportions. And there's going to be an election at some point, probably sooner rather than later. I think not... Actually, because, Parliament's prorogued now. I think definitely no election before that October 31st date. But now they've got this legislation that says, there has to be an extension because they can't go with a no deal. They might go for an election. Now, I know why Johnson was pushing for an election to the point of tabling a no confidence motion in himself, was because he believes he would win an election, because lots and lots and lots of polls say the Conservatives would do quite well in an election. But I just don't believe them. I mean, look at recent history, particularly the last 4 years, the number of major election results that were the complete opposite of what polls were suggesting. So I don't even believe polls. I think, I want them to have an election in the UK just to see what happens, because it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand any of it. Oh, God, Jessica, that's a blast for the past. The Big Brother TV show advertising through Vodafone network, claiming you could watch live streaming on your phone across the 3G network. No, you couldn't. Safa, boasting what a baby you are. You were 14 in 2006. I was 14 in 1980. Safa, have I ever had rent places repaired easily? Probably depends what sort of repair you're talking about. Current place, they fixed a couple things. We got a new stovetop. We got a sort of a partial repair on the air conditioning because the air conditioning is really flaky. But there are certain things that a rental place is compelled to fix. Aussie Gun Bunny, how are you, mate? Good to see you. Yes, Stephen, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Trump was supposed to fail. Brexit was supposed to fail. The LNP in Australia was supposed to fail. And they all come out on top in the results. I don't believe voting would go so heavily to the Tories as to say. But honestly, if they go to an election, I think the emotionally safest thing to assume is that the Tories will win, because I would hate to be all gung-ho about the Tories losing than be upset about them winning. I'd rather resign myself to them winning and be pleasantly surprised if they lose. But you look at polls, and the most likely outcome is Tories. Oh, as a gun bunny, the fires are actually not far from your house. Those fires are terrifying, because they're not just fires. They are, like, a couple of them have been described as firestorms. They're so intense. The air is on fire, and you get those. Not just in Australia. There were some that intense in Europe, in the European summer, and in North America. And, of course, we've got what's happening in the goddamn Amazon. But such severe fires in Australia in the beginning of September, when our most intense fire period is between January and April, that is really, really concerning. Safra, I heard those Gold Coast ones, they've actually nailed some kids who were apparently, discussing on chat how they lit the fire, which is, oops, there's Aidsy. I think Aidsy's here. Let's see.
Hey,
yeah, look, we're live.
Center the camera. There you go.
Yeah, we got a center.
I might just do this, though, because it's probably just easier.
You look like you're in an earthquake wobbling about like that.
Well, I am a little bit.
Yeah?
I'm just going to have to do this.
All right, there you go.
There you go. Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me be on your device. It's very nice to be invited into your pixelated space.
Yeah. So we're all live and happening, and I've been to the physio who's saying my shoulder is pretty good now. I don't have to go back unless it plays up again.
Nice
I also got
work,
this
buddy.
exercise.
Nice work.
Yeah. So is it okay? Look, AIDSy may have fallen down some stairs, broken a collarbone and several rings, and cracked his head, but I fell off a chair and hurt my finger. So
Well, I respect that as somebody who has lived, someone
yeah,
who has triumphed over difficulty, someone who has inspired me to
yes,
carry on, to carry on.
that's good.
Mostly carry on taking drugs, but just to
Yeah,
carry on.
this is Stella saying like you're not off your tits on your meds. Yeah, not so much because I think the pain's a bit less intense now than it was, say, a couple of weeks ago. Would that be fair
For me,
for you?
no.
That's
No,
not fair.
no, I re-broke collarbone.
Oh fucking hell, man!
One of them, not both of them. I broke my
Okay,
collarbone in two places, but I only re-broke one bit, and it's the bit that's closest to my neck. It's right here.
right.
You,
Okay. God damn.
you can sort of see it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't do that. Fuck, that hurts.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm
Don't
not
do that.
actually on any meds right now
Yeah.
because I haven't got any. But I could take some Panadol.
Yeah.
I might.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
be a rebel and take some
Take some Panadol.
Panadol.
Like the old joke, doctor, it hurts when I do this. Okay, well, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Aussie Gum Bunny asked me how Eva's holding up with the fires. I think she posted a picture on Facebook that the fires. She's like, "Holy shit, that's where I was on the weekend." She's like, "I'm the other side of town now, so it's not as a high threat." But apparently, it was the really intense fire was near where she was working on the weekend. So
Wow.
very intense fires. So I'm just gonna. AD's possibly taking some Panadol. And on physiotherapist's advice, I'm gonna play with my balls a bit while we talk.
Can we just right now
Yeah,
just say how insensitive it is that
yeah,
you're playing with your balls when
yeah.
I don't get to,
Nah.
right?
Well,
I've got a false ball bag that
yes,
means that I can't grab an individual ball. I've just got to be careful not to put a bowling ball. And
yeah,
you're just playing with your balls happily. I mean,
yeah. So it's like
I'm triggered.
because you.
Is what I'm saying is I'm triggered. Oh, that reminds
My
me. I
God.
got to tell you.
Hey, look, I'm glad you because that's something I want to talk about. You with your long history in comedy, the fucking laziness of comedians, and particularly ones who are making millions of dollars, saying like, "Oh, you can't joke about anything today. People are too easily triggered," and they say that like it's a really deep, insightful thing.
Yeah, yeah, they do. I
It's
mean, they're lazy as fuck. And
yeah,
what's the half the trouble is that we're going through culture change right now,
mm,
and so they're old shitty jokes that they have brought with them from the Chicago studio right
yeah,
through Reynard's right through Saturday Night Live. You know, they don't work anymore.
yeah,
And they have to retrain themselves, but
yeah,
they don't know about the fracturing of culture, and they don't
mm,
know about, especially US comics, right? They go, this is the US, and they're wrong because
yeah,
it's fractured into lots of different cultures now. So is Australia. It's fractured
yes,
into lots of different cultures, and the youth, the bloody youth, I tell
yeah,
ya, We don't salute the flag because they
Yeah,
don't know shit about it. Join the army. They do though in large numbers.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the youths are pretty much. Well, okay. Someone put it to me very, very interestingly.
yeah.
Um, the 19-year-olds of 1944 were
Mm,
hitting the beaches at Normandy. The
yes.
19-year-olds of 2017 looking for a safe space to
Mm,
rebuild their emotions and
mm,
esteem. So, you know, I I hear that, but you can then turn around and go, well, those 19-year-olds in 1945 were building
mm,
the environment
mm.
that today's 19-year-olds can live in. And when I
Yes.
talk to, I've got a thing that
Mm,
happened to me that I
yes.
can talk to you about. Yes, I got a phone call. You know how last week we were talking about North Force and Star Force?
Yes.
I got a phone call
Yeah.
from a young man saying, "Listen, you, I'm from North Force,
Yes.
and bloody North Force is the Australian Army, Star Force is the South Australian Police. Get it bloody right." Um,
Okay.
and then he went on to tell me a few other things, some of them quite derogatory to me.
Oh,
Um,
that's
and they were basically along the lines of "get your fucking facts right." Um,
harsh.
and he said the uncles that were in World War II did a lot of stuff, but North Force is a reconnaissance unit mainly, and we do other things. And I said, "What other things do you do, sir?" "Don't call me sir. I work for a fucking living." "What other things do you do, soldier?" "I'm not
Yeah.
fucking telling you. They're secret."
Yeah.
So they are they are the RFSUs.
Mm,
They go from Queensland right around to West Australia.
mm,
Basically, draw a line, sort of. Oh no, they're all of Northern Territory, and they're a third of the top of Queensland, and they're a third of the top of West Australia. So
okay.
they got the biggest patrol area in the world, um, and they do stuff. But they
Yes.
also um, they're a reconnaissance unit, and they bring back intelligence, and they patrol the coast and the bush in
Hmm.
that area. And it was yeah, North Force was the Australian Army unit, and Star
Yeah.
Force is the South Australian Police. South
Yeah.
Australian Police did in fact participate in the war in South Australia. They were doing reconnaissance down there, not expecting anything to come from down there, but it's a good idea to have a look out. And
Yeah.
North Force was the ones who did stuff. And
Yeah.
yes, I was put in my place. Now, how did they get my number? I never want to know that.
Yeah. All right. Good
Right?
point. Yeah.
Okay? I don't give a shit how they
Yeah.
got my number.
You don't want to know.
Um, what could they do to me? Anything they fucking want.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, I think now I would like to apologise to Norforce for getting their duties wrong,
Yeah.
and to their ancestors, uncles, and the guys who were around in World War Two,
Mm,
um, and the elders that were around in World War One.
yeah.
And one of the interesting things that the Norforce bloke told me is the Australian Army's good. Is when you get in, the only fucking colour's green. And yeah, interesting.
Well, Joe, just say hi to Gecko, who came in while you were talking.
Hey,
And
Gecko,
just
how you
asked
going, man?
if I had any hate mail recently. No, I haven't. I think I was just looking over there because I think I've still got the old hate mail there. And look, Stella brought up something that's kind of like what I was going to say. That whole thing about 19-year-olds storming. Well, they weren't. The average age was actually considerably older than 19. 19 was famously the average age in Vietnam.
Yeah.
But that is an absolute horseshit comparison. As Stella points out, those not just the young men and women who were in active service, people of all ages suffered all sorts of trauma. And yes, because PTSD was poorly understood at the time, they often ended up retreating into alcohol and drugs and being abusive.
Oh, yeah. And you spoke. I spoke to Well, no, a friend of mine spoke to a woman who was the husband of a World War II soldier. Because she was the husband of a Afghanistan vet,
Mm.
and she said, "I'm a bit worried because my
Mm.
husband's having bad dreams."
Mm.
And the World War II vet's wife said, "Oh, my husband has bad dreams too.
Mm.
He had one last night."
Mm.
And she was asked, "Oh, how often does he have these bad dreams?" And she said, "Every night."
Yeah.
And a lot of soldiers
Yeah.
wake up every night
Yeah.
after a nightmare.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it leaves its mark on you getting
Yeah.
shot at. Running around in fucking terror,
Yeah.
uh, not knowing if you're going to step on a fucking mine or get
Yeah.
shot or,
Yeah.
And
Yes.
when you're in a situation where you can't trust your allies, it's a
Yes.
fucking
Yeah.
very dodgy
Okay.
place to be.
Let's say hi to Renee.
G'day,
But
Renee.
the other thing I want to say about 19-year-olds today, anyone who goes, 19-year-olds today just trying to fuck you. 19-year-olds are on the streets going toe to toe with neo-Nazis and fascists, while these comfortable fucking reactionary Gen X, our generation, and boomer fucks are deriding them. And when they do step up and say, hey, here's an actual threat, the fascists are advocating for the extermination of anyone they don't like. And we're not going to stand for that. We're going to go toe to toe with these fuckers. The fucking whiny old cunts wet their pants and call them terrorists and whatnot. Like, get well and truly fucked. I mean, sure sign of someone who needs a cricket bat up the head is someone who goes on about, these young people, they just want a safe space and they're getting triggered. Fuck you. One of my favorite ones of that is like some old boomer saying, oh, in my day, we didn't get triggered by everything. It's like, fuck you, grandpa. In your day, you lost your shit if a black person drank out of the same water fountain as you.
Yep,
So get
absolutely.
well and truly fucked.
Yeah, fucking well triggered
That's just
by
ridiculous.
lots of different things. Triggered by welfare. You always
Yeah.
hear about miners and the farmers
Yeah.
screaming about welfare, and it's like, all right, we'll take half your diesel, your half diesel
Yeah.
discount off you. We'll take your loan discount off you. We'll take your water off you because the
Yeah.
city gave you the water. But then you won't give it back to the city. And
Yeah.
if you complain that the man on the land feeds you, we'll just say, well, we'll import the food like we've been doing for 20 fucking years,
Yeah.
and get fucked. But look, I I think young people today have it very hard,
Yeah.
very hard. There are 1.9 million Australians looking for work.
Hmm.
There are 750,000 jobs. Do the math. And you've got, a government blaming the people who can't get a job. Well, there
Hmm.
fucking aren't any.
Yeah.
And, the shops are closing down. There's every main street I go down, here in
Yes.
Melbourne, you see the black windows of empty shops.
Yeah.
You know, they've closed. Why are they closed? Because no one's spending anything. Why is there no one spending anything? Because no one's making any
No one's got
fucking
any
money.
money.
You know?
Been wage for people lucky enough to have jobs. There's been wage stagnation for 20 fucking years.
Yeah.
I know my wage hasn't gone up in 10 years, and
Yeah.
the fucking it's just ridiculous saying. All right, a nice sidetrack from Gecko. I don't know if you've seen these stories, AZ, people saying weird lung diseases are being caused by vaping, making lungs collapse and people dying. And Gecko says at least 5 people have died in the US, and it's linked to vaping. First, massive grain of salt with these stories that these people are dying from some sort of disorder that's caused by vaping, because they're also young people. It's like suggesting someone who's only been vaping for a year or two got some complication killed them. Now, you could, because Christ knows what's in some of them. Maybe they had an allergic reaction to something, whatnot. But I do not automatically believe these stories that say they were killed by vaping. And my second point would be, you say, yes, in the last couple of months, they're saying at least 5 people in the US died from vaping. In the last couple of months, more people than that in the US have died from slipping on the toilet. And I'm not even joking. That's a literal statistical fact. The US, with hundreds of millions of population, if half a dozen people die from a cause, it doesn't even fucking register. Like, more people get killed crossing the road every day. It's like, often when people bring their big contentious things up, I just love saying, and what's your point? And therefore, and it's like, oh, because that's bad, so we should ban it. Do you want me to bring up the list of things that kill more people?
Here's another statistic that upsets me.
Mm.
20 underage kids a night die from alcohol poisoning in Australia.
Yes, and it's obviously the most dangerous drug. Alcohol is obviously the most dangerous drug.
I used to live with a cop, and he said to me one night when we were quite pissed on whiskey, and chatting about politics, he was very far left. This is why we called him the fascist.
Yes.
We call him the fascist because he was about the far leftist guy I've ever met.
Yeah.
He was a Fabian socialist, which is why he joined up. He joined up the army and he joined up the cops.
Oh, right. Because, okay. For those who don't know the variant of Fabian socialism, that dates right back. H.G. Wells was a Fabian socialist, the guy who wrote War of the Worlds. He also wrote Food of the Gods, which is basically a Fabian socialist's manifesto. The belief of the Fabian socialists is they believed in socialism, but it required people to step up and take control, because a lot of people who needed to be taken care of didn't have the wherewithal to take care of themselves. So that was why a Fabian socialist would join the army and the cops.
That's right. They joined the army and the coppers because it's about service. It's about serving the state. Yeah. Right? I am in service to this state, which has born me and fed me and clothed me and educated me, and I am serving this state in the best capacity I can, and to defend it or to police it is an obvious choice. Yeah. And so he did that, and we would be talking, and he said, we banned the wrong drug. And he said, I once or twice a year go to arrest and detain a kid who's gone psychotic on marijuana.
Yes, because it can have a bad effect on some people.
It can. And he said, well, once or twice a year I go and, get some kid who's gone psychotic on marijuana. I arrest 10 people a night who have got into alcohol-fueled fights. Every night. It's at least 10. It sometimes goes up to 40,
Yeah.
On full moons. Every cop station has a moon calendar tacked up somewhere where it can be. It's usually on the back of a door, but
Yes.
every cop station has one, and they all pick up one because they want to know where full moon is. There's no scientific evidence whatsoever that full moon affects anyone, but the coppers and the hospitals all have one
Yeah, they're fairly
sitting around
convinced.
because they
Yeah.
know when it's
Yeah.
full moon, fucking the crazies come out.
Yeah.
And more people get arrested.
Yeah.
Um,
Of course, we know from the Prohibition era in America, banning substances doesn't work. It actually just empowers criminals and whatnot. But the idea that marijuana in particular is so much worse, but geez, even stuff like ecstasy and hallucinogens and fucking cocaine and heroin for that matter, there's no way they're as dangerous as alcohol. Like even in the US, like, the opioid crisis, that's slightly different because people are being given drugs that literally stop your heart in big handfuls, like their candy, like their Halloween candy.
yeah,
And
the pill crisis in America is just out of hand.
yeah, it's becoming one of the biggest killers in America. Like, apparently, it's sneaking up on the road toll. It's just thousands of people are being killed by opioid addiction.
Well,
But
part of it, and this blows my mind. Okay, so this is a subject which is close to my heart because I'm
yeah,
into drugs in a fucking massive way.
yeah,
And when I say into, it's a research thing. It's a research thing. I'm not a drug pig. No,
yeah,
I am a drug pig. Um, and basically, what's going on is this drug's called oxycodone, and
and
you get
worse
it,
ones lately. Yeah,
and yeah, and the other one is fentanyl.
yes,
Uh,
fentanyl. That's even worse. Yes,
Even worse, and they're getting there's a fentanyl lollipop that you
yes,
suck on, and you have to suck on it 5 times to get all the fentanyl, and it's fucking strong.
yeah.
But they also
Well,
get given bottles of oxycodone where they get 50 pills. It's we know it as endone, but
yes,
our endone is half the strength. Our full endone, which is something like 15 megs, is half the strength of one of theirs. And
and
a
they only
15
give it to
meg
you in
full endone
hospital.
will fucking knock you down. Sorry, what'd you
They
say?
only they'll only give you endone in hospitals. No one's
Oh yeah,
going.
now. Oh yeah, shit yeah. You only get endone in hospitals. To get prescribed endone by a GP style doctor, you've got to be in a very fucking bad way. Say if you had a massive laceration and broken bones and you were just coming out of
Yeah,
rehab,
yeah,
yes, then your GP would give you endone for quite a while. But when you were able to move again, they would reduce you and piss it off.
yeah.
But in the States, the GPs are handing it out en masse.
Mm.
The reason this is going down is that the health system is so constipated that people coming in with real and chronic complaints have
Yeah,
fucking nowhere to go.
yeah,
In the meth capitals of
mm.
America, there are no hospitals. You
Yes.
go
There are
near
no services at
places,
all.
there's no fucking hospitals. Doctors are 50 and 100 kilometers apart.
Yeah,
And then when you get there, you've got to pay the full fee, the full whack.
yeah,
And that can be anywhere between 75 and $150
mm.
US. Um, I don't have that regularly. So if
Yes,
I had to pay
exactly.
that, I'd be fucked. And I've got a
Yeah,
chronic diseases where
yeah,
I have to rock up to see my GP every week.
yeah,
And if I don't see the guy every week, he gets a little annoyed and starts
mm.
phoning people,
Yeah,
me first. And it, yeah, it's it's a different world. So they
Yeah.
go to these doctors and say, I've got a chronic or acute disease. And the doctor
Yeah.
goes, the only thing I can do is give these people a ongoing prescription for very powerful um, uh, uh, opioid drugs.
Yeah. And
So,
a big thing is also most of those opioids are useless for treating chronic pain. It just takes it. They were designed for end stage cancer patients, basically people who were
and
dying,
and
and
acute
yeah,
insult.
and
Yeah.
it take the edge off the acute pain and ease them gently into that long night. And they started giving them out for chronic conditions, and they're fucking useless for chronic conditions. All that happens is you get addicted. The pain doesn't go away. Um,
Well, no, the pain doesn't go away, and there's no real services outside Buddhist temples that can
yeah,
give you the tools to make the pain go away,
yeah,
or make you push the pain away,
yeah.
which they teach you
Yeah,
in the special services and spy schools. And effectively, the opioids can calm and dope you so that you don't feel anything for the time that the drug is in play. And that's why they give it to the chronic pain patients, because they need something, anything,
yeah,
to push the pain away for a few hours. However,
yeah,
a lot of the patients get used to taking them much
yeah,
more regularly than they should.
yeah.
And it's not once a day, it's 6 times a day, and then it's 12
Yes.
times a day, and then
Yeah.
it's 24 times a day, and it just creeps
Yeah.
up and up and
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, if you want to get super angry, look into it. Look into the history. But one I found recently, the Behind the Bastards podcast. There's episodes on the opioid crisis and the family that made billions of dollars out of it. Will make you angry if you are any sort of decent human being. That these scumbags profited to the tune of billions of dollars by killing tens of thousands of people and addicting hundreds of thousands more. And like these people have fucking destroyed towns. Whole
Yeah,
towns have been
yeah,
destroyed by this shit. I mean, of course, only half the problem is the people who get them off prescription because they became so lucrative. It became a major channel for organized crime, hijacking trucks that were delivering them and then selling them to meth heads. That was one of the central things in the particularly good TV series from a few years ago, Justified. It down south, it's in places like Kentucky and whatnot, and a major part of the crime network in the southern states is hijacking drug shipments
it's the
and
Dixie
selling them on the
Mafia,
black market.
baby.
Yeah, well, these guys were even, I think it's Kentucky that they're in. And Dixie Mafia are bigger, but these local criminals really don't like the Dixie Mafia because the Dixie Mafia think they should be able to run everything.
You're
And
talking about the show that was inspired by Fire in the Hole, aren't you?
yes, yeah, it
Yes.
came from
It's
that book.
amazing. It's an amazing series.
It's a great show.
Basically, the whole arc is
Yeah,
following two guys
yeah.
who knew each
They
other as children, and now they're on opposite sides of the law.
Yeah. And
No
they dug
bullshit.
coal together when they were young men. They both worked coal mines. And one guy, played by Timothy Oliphant, becomes a US Marshal. And the other guy, and both their dads were criminals. Both their dads
Yeah,
were career
both their
criminals.
dads are criminals. Yeah,
And the other guy becomes a criminal. And it's the old, I try to get out, they pull me back in.
pulling me back in.
It's like the only thing he was ever good at was being a criminal, but he gives it away at one point and he goes to work in the mines, and these people just don't give him a choice. They drag him back into a criminal enterprise, and he basically kills, because they were also going to cross him. So he ends up killing them all, and he's going, well, if the only thing I can do is be a criminal. I'm going to be a good criminal. And he's going to, then trying to be the local kingpin. He is probably the best character bad guy, certainly in recent TV history, maybe ever.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
Just a fully rounded character.
It's a very human series.
Yeah.
It's a very human series. I'm not giving out any spoilers. But
it's 10 years old. You can spoil.
There's one scene particularly, which is brilliant, where our main guy is visiting a criminal who has a bracelet, an ankle bracelet on, and he can't leave his property at all because he's got this ankle bracelet on, and he lives out, in the country. His kids are in trouble, and they're basically in trouble because he's been sending them out to do the crimes he can't. Anyway, our guy turns up and sees the bracelet on the ground. And he says, how the hell did you get that? And then he finds his foot.
Yeah.
And it's been sawed off.
Yeah.
And he goes, and then the episode ends. And you know, what the fuck happened? Where'd he go? He basically has been found by a bigger crime organisation.
Yes.
Convinced to go with them.
Yes.
And he's convinced to then disappear and not come back.
Yeah. Even just the names. I'd forgotten the names. I was looking them up. I remember the actors. Timothy Oliphant plays the hero. Raylan Givens. That's such a good name.
Great name. Raylan.
But the name I couldn't remember was the actor's Walton Goggins. He's been doing a lot more comedy lately. And he's very good at both drama and comedy. But his bad guy character name was Boyd Crowder. It's like they have such good names.
Yeah. And there's only two ways out of the Shire. One's on your... One of them's in the mine, and the other one's in the ground. There's only two ways out of this town.
Yeah, and both.
Go on.
As you say, both Raylan and Boyd started off in the mines, but then to get out, Raylan went into law enforcement and Boyd went into crime.
The only reason Raylan is there is he was stationed in Miami, right?
Oh my God, that's so good.
And
sorry,
he basically the first scene, right? He's stationed in Miami, and he sits down across the table from this criminal. And
not just a criminal; he's a major connected Dixie Mafia guy.
Yeah, he's a major mob guy.
Yeah,
major mob guy, and he's sitting down at the table, and he's about to get on a plane or a boat or something.
No, well, Raylan told him, "Leave town, or I'm going to shoot you."
No. He said, you mustn't leave town. You're going to come with me or turn yourself in. You are not going anywhere. And this guy's eating his lunch and going, I'm getting on a boat.
I'm going to stop you there because I think you're misremembering it. Because what Raylan had done was give him 24 hours.
But he's at the end of his 24 hours.
Yeah, he's at the end of the 24 hours, and he says, there's 60 minutes to go, and he said it'll take you 60 minutes to get to the airport. You've got, 60 seconds to get up and leave. And Raylan's got his gun out, and he's just basically, and what he's trying to do is provoke the guy. He's trying to convince the guy, I will shoot you. I'm telling you now, I will shoot you.
I will shoot you, right?
But what it has, and hence the name of the show, Justified. It has to be a justified shooting to be legal. So this guy actually has to pull a gun on Raylan. So Raylan is basically trying to provoke him into pulling a gun. And he's just counting down, and he's going 30 seconds, 20 seconds. And the guy finally believes Raylan's actually just going to shoot him in cold blood and pulls a gun, and Raylan
shoots him. Bang. Right in the middle of this restaurant. Bang.
Yeah.
Out on the beer garden of this restaurant, blows his head off.
Yeah.
And then his bosses go, yeah, we wish you didn't do that.
Yeah.
And that looks bad for the marshals.
And not just that,
so
because they put a contract out on him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's not to be in Miami again.
Yeah.
and we're reassigning you. And they reassign him back in his old home, and he's got the shits about it too,
Yeah.
because he
Back to
hated
Kentucky.
that place and everything about it. And this is why he joined the bloody law,
Yeah.
to get the hell out of this crappy hometown. And he goes back there, and it shows the poverty and the desperation and the nastiness of this place really, really well. And yeah, what people will do to get ahead or get out or get connected or just get a step up from the grinding poverty.
Yeah.
And there's meth labs friggin' everywhere. And we know this because our other main central character begins the character arc by blowing up meth labs.
Yeah.
And only stops when he blows up a meth lab with someone in it.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel so good about it anymore. Yeah, very, very, very good series. It's
It's like 4 or 5 seasons of it.
Yeah, really,
And it
and deserved.
didn't get cancelled. They basically finished
They
the
ended
story.
it. They finished the story. Yeah, they ended it. They didn't. They in not one place did it look like it was going to get cancelled.
Yeah.
But they finished the story, and it was supposed to finish like that. They presented the whole series to, was it HBO? It was HBO, wasn't it?
HBO series, I think.
They presented the whole thing to HBO, and HBO said, "Yeah, go and make it. You know, if it sucks, we'll blow it up. But you know, go and make it." It was like Twin Peaks, actually. And anyway, HBO said, "Nah, it's going good. Everyone likes it," and they got greenlit for the whole lot, and they did the whole lot, and then shut it down. And the shutdown's pretty full.
Yeah. It was pretty. I was looking through the cast list and remembering all the great actors who were in it. Even the Aussie Damon Herriman played a really particularly dumb meth head, a Kentucky meth head in it. But there was such great, and I forgot bloody. Oh God, where is he again? The comedian who. Oh my God, I've brain go blanky, and now I'm trying to find him.
He's the guy. Patton Oswalt, yeah. He plays
a sheriff.
Really important character.
Yeah. And it's funny, in the local thing, a sheriff is someone who collects fines. It has you get paid a little bit, but it's like only a couple $1,000s. So it's meant to be a sideline job. And little Patton Oswalt, for those who don't know him, is basically my build, like a short fat bugger. And he's like, wanted to be a hero, so he's got this shitty sheriff's job.
No, it's constable. He's a constable.
That's right, constable.
He's a constable, and it's a shitty job, and that's what he lives on.
Yeah.
And he basically is also doing security for Raylan. So that's his other gig. Yeah. And so when Raylan asks him to do something, he goes and do it. Now remember also, he's a constable, so he's got the power of arrest.
Yes.
So Raylan is a marshal. He doesn't have the power of arrest. He has the power to transport criminals and run after criminals and look at criminal money resources. But if there's an actual crime going on, and many times in the series, marijuana fields are found, and marijuana crops are found, and he's like, "Well, I'm not going to do anything about it. So it's not my gig." And they're found in very odd places.
Yes.
And essentially, the constable can go and do something about the thing that Raylan wants him to do. And Patton Oswalt comes up again and again in the series with little things, But right at the end of the series, he is, kind of in the middle. He's
he's kind of in the middle. I don't want to give a spoiler because it's so good, but because you think he's just comic relief because he is so foolish. Yeah. But holy crap, he comes through in a really critical thing.
He stands up just when
Shows how
Yeah,
tough
man.
he is, and he
Yeah,
really
no.
comes through.
Oh, yeah.
But
When
generally,
he stands
good
up,
show.
it's very full on. Very full on. And
Yeah.
you go, yeah. Listen, I've got to go on gloomy teeth, so hold down the fort for a second.
Okay. All right. I'm going to hold down the fort. You're
Starting
off
to
screen now, so you can have privacy.
when I come back, I'll let you know. Right.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you when you come back. The good people watching, you got to give AZ his privacy while he fixes the glue on his teeth. So, and I'll even mute so we don't get any background noise. But Gecko's back for a few. Nice to see. Yeah, I was thinking. No, I might save the topic of comedians because AZ has a long history in comedy, and God, it gets on my nerves when you get comedians going like, "Oh, you can't joke about anything anymore." Really fucking annoying in my book. But what else is happening in the world? The English Parliament's been prorogued. They're on break. Trump's drawing Sharpie things on maps. I don't know. The whole world is so weird. I think we're like right on the cusp of stuff happening in Australia that's going to make me really angry. And there's a couple of things. It's the fucking war on the unemployed with the cashless welfare card being forced on people and the talking about drug testing welfare recipients and cutting them off if they drug test, and the fucking religious freedom from persecution. Oh no, the idea that they actually want to put into law that people can use their religion as an excuse to victimize people and discriminate against people. Ooh, a bushfire halftime cocktail. That's a good idea, Fox. Gecko, going to do desktop support. That'll be fun. Desktop support's a fun way to interact with humans. I'm not going to set a drink on fire, but can we come up with a cocktail that has unsurprisingly, I've found a cocktail called the bushfire. What's it got? Whiskey, amaretto, and orange bitters. That's a little bit boring. I mean, I don't actually have amaretto, but I could probably substitute something. But I don't know. That's a little bit boring. There's a few, when people bring in, there's one called Prairie Fire that has Tabasco in it. To build a fire, a gin cocktail. Is he, what's this one? To build a fire. What's in it? Gin, lime, simple syrup. It's a ginger beer. Gross. I hate ginger beer. Rosemary tincture. Yeah, but that's just gin and lime juice and simple syrup. I wouldn't put ginger beer in. I actually do have some rosemary tincture, but no, I don't think I want to do that. Yes, people raising a few good points. Justin, the fact that this cashless welfare card actually costs $10,000 a person is a fucking crime. Possibly literally, because there are all these suggestions that it's going to benefit Liberal Party donors. If I was saying Jackie Lambie saying she's against the religious liberty thing. I know she's against the drug testing thing. Oh, wow. So, Gecko, this is actually a physical help desk. Okay, cool. I actually think people who come to a physical help desk tend to have less stupid problems than people who call over the phone. But yes, what else can I find? A flaming Mo, prairie fire, flaming Dr. Pepper, cement mixer, Alabama Slammer. They're just kind of boring. Bushfire tonic syrup, Christmas and cocktails. What's this one? Espresso martini. No, that's actually a quiz. I don't want a quiz. I need an inspiration. What sort of cocktail? Oh, wait. I think AZ's come back. Sorry. Add to...
waving and stuff to try and get your attention.
Sorry,
and,
I was
and
distracted.
You were giving it a little bit of, I want to make a cocktail. But yeah. So why don't you make a coffee martini?
Because I fucking hate coffee.
That would be one reason. Why don't you make a Pepsi martini?
Because that's a crime against nature. What's wrong with you? I don't.
Many things are wrong with
is something I'm not into. Like the traditional martini is either vodka or gin with vermouth, and I have all those things.
But you don't need to put the vermouth in there because that's just weird. You put either the gin or the vodka in with your Pepsi, and you decorate it how you like.
Yeah.
In fact, that would be an interesting thing. I'd like to see you decorate a vodka Pepsi-tini. And, what would you put? Because when you have a coffee martini, you put little coffee beans on the top where the cream is. And it looks cool. So if you're having a Pepsi-tini, what would you put on the top to make it look, awesome? Or would you just float like a yin-yang bloody Mentos so that you color in the red and make it look like a Pepsi logo and then just pop it on the top and it'll fizz up?
I'm just saying there's something seriously wrong with you. Is it Fiberific doesn't want vermouth in a Pepsi-tini? I don't want a Pepsi-tini. I'm not a particular fan of vermouth. I do have some just because it's an ingredient in a lot of cocktails.
I didn't say put the vermouth in there. I just said put the vodka in there.
I know. Don't put the vermouth in. No, I'm going to make... Maybe I'll make something desserty. I've got a few... I mean, like, what I've got like the white creme de cacao, so like a white chocolate liqueur. Yeah. I've got lemon liqueur, and I've got what's the stuff? No, my brain is not working. It's the stuff you put in a fluffy duck.
Yeah, that's...
It's in the fridge. It's just here. Because it's got egg in it, so I keep it in the fridge.
Yeah.
Advocat. That's what I was trying to remember.
That's the one. Yes, I was going to say that when I found out what it was.
I could make a desserty cocktail. So like Advocat makes it really frothy. What have I got here that I could put in? Yeah, maybe just... Oh, elderflower. That's a good one. I got this one. Yeah. This is from Scotland, actually. This is an elderflower liqueur. Elderflower is a nice flavour.
Yes, but it's not Australian.
No, it's not. Okay.
None of the stuff you talk about is in fact Australian. All of these alcohols are from other places. What do you got there?
This is a macadamia liqueur. It's an Australian made. Like, because you get a lot of hazelnut ones, those Italian ones like Frangelico and whatnot.
Yeah.
And this is an Australian twist on that. It's a macadamia liqueur.
What's it taste like?
Like macadamia.
Okay.
It's like mild enough to have a swig of. It really it's got a caramelly nutty taste.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Makes
okay,
sense.
this is like a you put crushed peanuts on a dessert. I'll put some.
Okay.
Right,
Fair
I've
enough.
got a
Yeah.
plan. And okay, I need my cocktail shaker. All right.
Well, you'll have to get that. I'm meanwhile going to say hello to everyone. Hi, Mega Tech. Hi, Fox of Fists. Fox of Fate. Jesus, I'm dyslexic. Fiberific. Now let me see if I can see what everyone's saying. Vodka, cream milk. Search never had macadamia.
All right.
Gecko had my car loaded with boxes of booze. You gotta love that when you got your car loaded with boxes of booze. I'm always impressed at the American kids who go over the border to Canada and buy a shitload of booze because, the age of consent in Canada is 18, the age of consent in America is 21, or the age of adulthood. So in America, you've got to be 21 to buy booze. In Canada, you've got to be 18. So the 18-year-olds and the 20-year-olds, all cross the border, buy a shitload of booze, load up their car, and come back. And customs goes, you've got a shitload of booze. And they go, yes, we do. Because our folks sent us across the border to get it, which is legal. And here is the note from our parents saying we had to do it. I
No.
brought my... Yeah, I know. Isn't that full on? Because lately, Canada and US have tightened their customs and security at the Canada-US border because they're freaking out about terrorism. And they don't want terrorists to just run to Canada. And they don't want terrorists to bail in from Canada. So they've both agreed to crack down on security. So, because what used to happen was the kids used to just go up, get it, and come back. Oh, you're coming from Canada and you're white. Off you go. And these days, everyone gets stopped and searched. And we've got these fucking multi-lane checkouts. It's like 20 little, it's like a toll booth. You see 6 tolls on a freeway. Well, there's like 20 these across, and you go to one of them and they do the mirror under the car and they check your boot and they check your stuff and they look at you and they go, "Oh, you creepy," like, and then you show them your passport. Oh, it's the other thing. You never used to have a passport to go over to Canada and come back to America. Now you've got to have a passport, and they check your passport, and they check your note from your parents to say you've got to buy a shitload of booze because it's cheaper in Canada. And that's why they sent their kids to get a shitload of booze. And it was legal in Canada for them to get a shitload of booze. So they go, all right, take the booze back to your parents. And they're going, we're going now back to our parents who happen to be waiting for us on the edge of a river in a barbecue area with 30, 40 other kids smoking pot and making a fire. And so, yes, you'll find 3 other cars with notes from their parents coming also behind us. Yes, we know the car's bottoming out. Suspension's not actually holding the car up because there's a little bit of load in it. But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll get this back to our parents. And so, yeah, they've been doing that for about 50 years, except when Prohibition was in. Canada made a fortune on getting whiskey in from
Canadian whiskey
themselves and Scotland, and then refilling it to gentlemen on boats and gentlemen with trucks with accents. And they made a fortune, because Canadian whiskey and Scotch whiskey and everything else they were selling had been taxed by the Canadian
Yes.
government. So they were, they were paying full whack. Of course, as soon as you get a real bottle of booze into America, like, okay, so you're paying, back in those days, $5 for a bottle of scotch, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you get it back to New York, that $5 bottle of scotch, because it's real scotch, it's not bathtub scotch.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not made in a meth lab like we
Yeah.
do today. It's real scotch, and that $5 bottle of scotch is all of a sudden $40 to $50, and
Yeah.
people are fucking very happy to pay for it.
Yeah.
Very happy to pay for it. Funny thing, it's similar to the war on drugs.
Yes.
Back in
It
those
just
days,
makes
booze
criminals rich.
won, and
Yeah.
these days, people say war on drugs. Well, guess what? Drugs won.
Yes.
Drugs have really won. So they're
Drugs and criminals.
quietly dismantling the war on drugs infrastructure because they need it for the war on terror.
Yeah.
They just don't. Yeah, these
Anyway. Yeah.
endless wars on stuff. I wonder if it's got something to do with funding.
Yeah. Anyway, I've mixed up my drink,
Oh
and
yeah.
because Box of Fate doesn't think it's a drink unless I put some absinthe in it. So
Well, it
that'll give it
is.
a bit.
It is the angry touch. Having
That'll give it a bit
absinthe
of
in something.
colour.
It's always funny when you put absinthe in Aidsie's drink because he then hurls it up in about 20 minutes. Yeah.
If you have an allergic reaction, so it's got that
Oh,
nice.
look at that! It's got layers.
Yes.
Nice.
So
The
nothing
blueberries.
How long did Prohibition last? I don't know. A few years.
It lasted 10 years and change. Might have been 12 years.
Oh,
Yeah, it might have been 12 years.
That's a fine beverage I've made myself there.
Well done, you.
The absinthe is a good idea because it was probably a bit sweet without it,
Right. And so
the
you brought
absinthe
it back to
given it a bit of
reality.
edge. Yeah.
I would probably go that without the absinthe because I like.
Oh yeah, I'll make you one without the absinthe.
Sweet, good one.
Like a dessert.
I will.
Horrific. What sort of adventures have we had? You're saying when's our next adventure? I don't know what our last adventure was. I don't recognize the username. So I want to know what sort of adventures we've had, but maybe absinthe fueled adventures. Who knows? But Gecko's telling us he worked at a wedding and they liked him so much, gave him a 1.75 litre bottle of white rum.
Oh.
You made a good impression on someone who do that.
You do. That's that's an investment.
Yeah.
That's an investment, that is.
Prohibition was across the entire US. That was a federal law. That's why you had the FBI trying to break it. Elliot Ness and the FBI, because they only deal in federal. You were the Lyft driver, Gecko. That's right. You drove people after a wedding, and because they had leftover booze, they gave you the Bacardi. Nice. It was good timing for you.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Yeah. Bloody prohibition was a national law.
Yes.
And the mob who were in charge of bringing the booze in and making the booze happen flourished under that. They were nothing. They originally got their money from hitting up theatre cloakrooms, right?
Yeah.
They'd go into theatre cloakrooms and intimidate the cloak, holder, and they'd take their money.
Yeah.
Right?
And
that was all they did. That was their big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Prohibition
and getting stuff
comes
off the
along.
docks. And
Sorry?
Getting stuff off the docks.
Getting stuff, stealing, random shit off the docks. Right? Yeah. And basically they were nothing. And then Prohibition comes in, they see the gap in the market and they go for it. Then they got Hoover in a compromising position.
Well, By compromising, if you mean compromising, he was wearing a dress while sucking his male secretary's cock. That was
That was
compromising.
compromising, okay? And he basically ignored. He was told, "Oh, the international mafia is getting huge, and they're getting organised, and they're getting really, really full on." And he was saying there is no mafia in this country.
Yes.
He basically said that for like 20 fucking years,
Yeah.
until it was so obvious that
Yeah.
even he couldn't ignore it anymore. And he
Yeah.
had files on everybody. He had phone
Yeah.
taps on everybody and files on everybody. But then when you looked for the mob in his files, they were thin and very
Yes.
cursory.
Yes.
And it was
Basically,
like,
he was completely corrupt. And yeah, he
yeah,
just had dirt files on everyone, every major politician, including the presidents. And oh, Chantel, it was you with the Fiberific account. I didn't know who had the Fiberific account, but now I do. Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's like
Chantel,
VidCon is on next week in Melbourne.
I can't go. I haven't got any money.
Well, I don't know if I'm going either. It's yeah, I don't know. I'm really unenthused about it. So I don't even know if I'm going to go myself.
Are they doing the whole 3 tickets again? Punter, mid-size, and creator.
Yes, there's the fan tickets, there's the creator tickets, and there's the industry tickets.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I was going, I'd go as a creator. Okay, Chantel, you're going to be in Melbourne. Well, okay, no question. We'll definitely catch up. I mean, I'm probably going. I'd feel bad if I didn't go. I'm just really unenthused. So probably go, but we definitely do try and give people some social outlets, somewhere to meet up. On the Thursday and Friday night, probably. I'm actually
Sort of an
busy
unofficial
on it.
gathering.
Yeah. I think the last 2 years we just told people to meet up in that food court in Melbourne Central because it's easy to get to and it can sort of take over an area of it and hang out, I should say. I'm actually busy on the Saturday night, but probably we'll go out on the Thursday and Friday night, and maybe the Sunday night too. But yeah, for an old bugger like me, it's a bit challenging staying up several nights in a row and then going to all day things several days in a row as well. I can tell you're doing an industry.
Back in my day, we'd get up and we'd go hard, and then we'd keep on going all night, and then Monday morning we'd dust off our suits and we'd go into either work or school, and we wouldn't whinge about it. We wouldn't complain about it. We'd just go and bloody do it. We were sniffing cocaine the entire time, but we'd bloody get onto it. We'd get onto it.
Ads, you raise a good point that for Queenslander, the title of the stream is problematic. I said that right at the start that I was acting in rather poor taste by calling this a live stream hotter than the Queensland bushfires, but I have to own that, I guess.
I'm triggered.
Yes, absolutely. I
think
okay, now you're back. I want to talk about the comedy thing because you won't have seen them, but there's Dave Chappelle had a new Netflix special come out a week or two ago, in which I don't know, it was just disappointing. He's got this thing, he really doesn't understand trans people, and as a result, he says super dumb shit. because a lot of his special, there was some really biting stuff in there. Like he's really, like hasn't lost his edge and whatnot. But then he gets on to trans people specifically. Like he likes to make jokes about gay folk generally, but trans people, he just doesn't get. Like, he pissed people off a couple of years ago. There was a line in one of his specials, to the extent like he was at a party and there was someone who he perceived to be trans, is like, and he was describing it as a guy in a dress, like, like you could see a 5 o'clock shadow or whatever. And he was like, I'm all for letting people lead their own lives. And then the line he said was something along the lines of, how much am I supposed to buy into their delusion? And I was like, dude, that's so fucking evil. That's like, from our generation, that would as I try to explain to people, that's the stuff I grew up hearing black guy in a suit jokes.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. The joke was, what do you call a black guy in a suit? The defendant. And so he's going on about like this person he perceives as a guy in a dress is a delusion because I'm not into it. It's like, dude, I grew up with racists and racist comedians saying things like, yeah, a black guy can dress up in a suit and go to school and go to university and act like, he's sophisticated and what, but who's he fooling? He's still just a black guy. And it's like Chappelle doesn't get that's the joke he's making. And his most recent special, his hilarious punchline might as well have been, I identify as an attack helicopter. It's basically he's saying, because I don't understand trans people, I just perceive them as people saying there's something that they're not. So that's like me saying I'm Chinese. And it's like, dude, that is the single lamest fucking attempt at a joke about trans.
It's also, if you've ever been attacked because of what you are, right?
Yeah.
Every time I got poofed bashed, it was I was being attacked because of what I am. And then you look at Chappelle and go, dude, you're black in a racist country.
Yeah.
Did you not learn when you were a kiddie being called a nigger that essentially that was wrong? And you can hurt people by othering them.
Yeah.
If you make anyone the other, you basically dehumanize yourself and them.
Yeah.
You demean yourself and them, and you bring both of you down. And so he's basically sitting there having a go at trans people.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you've just jumped on the other side of the same fence that you grew up on.
Yep.
And why is there a fence? Sorry?
It's like he just literally doesn't get that. And to me, it's so obvious. And here's the thing, like, he is a funny guy. He's an intelligent guy.
He was trained by Eddie Murphy. He was trained by Eddie Murphy. So he's got the chops.
Yeah.
Right? He's got the moves. He dances well.
Yeah.
And he thinks comedy brilliantly,
Yeah.
Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, and there's one other that was trained by Eddie Murphy. And those guys are schmeck. But then Chappelle comes out with some fucking weird shit. Like, he just doesn't get stuff.
Yeah. It's the thing, but he's funny, he's intelligent, and he's compassionate. He's a very compassionate man, but he's got this massive blind spot with trans people. And what he's doing is incredibly obvious, and he doesn't seem to get it. And it's like, why don't you get this, dude? It's really weird. It's like, you're not a mean, nasty person, and you're not a dumb person. So why are you doing this dumb, mean stuff? It's like, it's absolutely surreal that he has this massive blind spot.
Well, he does have a massive blind spot, but also I've heard from people who should know that he's pretty much a bit of a homophobe. And I imagine that trans world would push him past his level of vocal tolerance. If you don't like the fags, then the trans are going to take you over the top.
Yeah.
And I know that the black community in the States had a problem with homos till really recently. In the 70s and 80s, it was pretty rife in the black community that
Yeah.
homos were bad people. And now that's pretty much shrinking. But you've got to remember Chappelle's grown up in that environment.
Yes.
He's grown up, in an environment where fags are bad.
Yeah.
And nobody thinks anything of calling homos fag. In fact, if you look on the internet today, all your American sources use faggot basically interchangeably
Yeah.
with idiot and or
Yeah.
gay individual.
Yeah.
How
The-
do you do that, boss of the house? Boss of the house has now crept in front of the camera, is on the other side of the room, and was in no way visible on the camera at all. So he's gone invisible for this entire distance, right? And the
yeah.
camera's like got a pretty wide field. I know this because I'm rocking around giving it a bit
Yeah.
of yeah. And yeah, he just does
Yeah.
this every time. Just goes from there. Sorry,
Yeah.
from there to there. Without and
Yeah.
yeah,
Saying
I don't know. I don't know. It's a mystery
throwing
which I shall
background.
have to discuss with boss of the house.
Yeah.
But yes, so Dave Chappelle grew up in that environment, so he would have been told about the sensitivity to gays. The initials community.
Yeah.
I shouldn't call everyone the initials community, but that's what they are because they keep on adding another initial. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say the rainbow people.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Alphabet people sounds a bit mean. Rainbow people is nicer.
Isn't it? The rainbow people.
Yeah. Chappelle, probably his best line in the whole special, it ties in. He goes out of his way to not be homophobic in his material. He goes out of his way to be very positive and supportive to gay people. He's just got a real issue with trans people. But he talks about way back when he was doing Chappelle's show, and the one time he says he got pulled into the office to say you can't say that, and he's going, what's the problem? And they're going like, well, in that sketch you use the word faggot and you can't do that. And he's going, really? I didn't know that. Okay, I guess I won't say it if that's going to cause problems. And he goes, but why can't I say that? Because I say nigger all the time, and that's way worse than faggot. You agree, right? And she goes, yes, but the thing is, Dave, you're not gay. And he goes, true, I'm also not a nigger. And I'm,
You know what? I am really against the state of the phrase the N word because I get that it's basically erasing the word nigger, but nigger is ugly, disgusting, demeaning, and filthy. And to pretty it up with a phrase that just washes over the fact that somebody has been called something disgusting is really a cop out in my mind.
Yeah.
I think that, it should be. It was Roosevelt, wasn't it, that said the best disinfectant is sunlight.
Oh,
Things should be looked
yeah,
at. It shouldn't be glossed over or privatized or made to be pushed into the background.
yeah,
No, it's ugly and it's real.
yeah,
And right now in the MAGA world,
yeah,
the calling of black people nigger is screamed back into national parlance.
yeah,
You look at black forums online, and
yeah,
oh yeah, the racism problems just fucking got getting out of hand.
yeah, yeah,
And of course, your black folks aren't going to take shit,
yeah,
so the racism's coming right on back.
yeah.
And it's like, well, you know, the Obama years have fucking dissolved.
Mm,
Um, Meant nothing. It's funny, you watch any of the Obama speeches and they're smooth and they're diplomatic and they're upward.
yes,
And he punches up. He never punches
yeah,
down, he always punches up.
yeah,
After the Sandy Hook, he was trying to get gun laws changed and they
yeah,
wouldn't. And he was
yeah,
fucking angry about that. And you could see that he was disgusted
yeah,
about that. But in his last press, in his last press, you know, um, they have this thing with the president who's going out talks to the press, and it's his chance to roast the press. And he said, "Look, to make everyone happy, I've got the birth video
mm. Oh,
of
yes, yeah,
me."
yeah.
And
That, that
and it
that thing
was
where they the
basically
comedy routine, yeah.
the opening of the Lion King. It was fucking
Yes.
awesome. It was hilarious. Hi, Shadow Eyes. Hey, done. Um,
Do you
it was
remember
hilarious.
the Key and Peele sketches where one of them played Obama and the other one was Luther, his anger translator, and you got the guy
Yes.
doing the really calm, Jordan Peele doing the really calm Obama speech, and Key's up there as the angry bald black man, just saying like, "What are you motherfuckers doing?"
Yeah.
And
Um,
Obama actually got him in on one of those press club things. And he's
yeah.
going, I've got my translator. And they're doing the routine. Obama's being his reasonable self. And Luther's doing the angry translations. And then Obama goes on a bit of a tear and starts going, and what's wrong with you people? Why? And he's getting a bit carried away. And Luther's going, dude, what? Whoa, dude.
Yeah, whoa. Can't translate that.
Like
But any,
you can win me over if you've got a good sense of humor, which is sucks because like George W. Bush had a good sense of humor,
mm,
and he would do funny stuff, and I'd go, "Oh, he's actually funny."
yeah,
Oh, fuck off!
um,
Stop making me have a soft spot for you, you prick.
yeah, cough. Um,
It's even
and
like
then,
okay, the N word. While he's turned into a complete shithead, Louis C.K. had some very good material in the past, and he had one about that. He said he hates watching, particularly people like Fox News saying the N word. He's going like, "Who are you fooling? I know what you're saying in your head, and
mm,
the worst thing is you're putting it in my head. I wasn't thinking it before you."
yeah,
But you're saying you're sitting there going the N word, and you go, "Oh, she means nigger," and it's like, stop putting that into my head.
yeah. So and it's like, but I was going to finish up with Obama. Every time you see him speak, it's measured and it's
Mm,
style and it's classy
mm,
and it's cool. And then you look at Trump speak and it's like a fucking child
yeah,
having a fucking tantrum every fucking time he opens his fucking entitled scamming mouth.
yeah,
And it's like, I feel dirty when I listen to Trump. It's like, what are you doing with this
yeah,
MAGA shit? And this
yeah,
fucking, we're gonna piss the Mexicans off and make a
yeah,
fence. You fucking shit.
yeah,
It's like he's the guy who's got all this dog whistle politics going down. He's building fences between the different peoples of America,
yeah.
and fuck, it's the best way to get America to implode.
Yeah.
And
Actually, feeding division.
Yeah, and they'll fucking eat each other. I do a lot of research on the net, and I'll surf a lot of different YouTube stuff, basically listening to the voice of America so that I can see where that culture's going and what they think of themselves, what they think is right, what they
Yeah.
think is good and
Yeah.
righteous.
Yes.
And there's a lot of scary shit in there. I have been all day watching videos about Ask Reddit. And there's this computer voice that'll tell you what the chosen 6 or 10 questions and answers are.
Yeah.
And they're the clever people of America, right? They're the educated people of America doing this. And you you read this and you you watch the blind spots in their thinking. And one of the things that's fascinating, as it's only happened here once that I know of, one of the things that's fascinating is they say things like they choose to follow the law.
Yeah.
And they're not, they're laws. You don't
Yeah.
fucking choose to follow a
Yeah.
law. It's a law. You've got
Yeah.
to do it. And in Australia, there was an old bloke run down near the beach because of a cycling peloton. He had
Yeah.
a pedestrian light and he was walking along, and a bike ran him down and killed him. Okay,
And that's not
and
a bike. That's those guys who do what they call the hell run
the hell
down
run.
Brighton
Yeah,
Road. Hundreds and hundreds of bikes
right.
completely disobey the road rules, and they go through red lights on the regular. And in this case, an old man was crossing with the lights, and dozens of bikes come through going at speed
Very
and,
fast. Yeah.
and killed him. Yes.
And then later, there was this group of cyclists who got up in front of the news cameras and said, "Oh, we all have a solemn oath to obey the road rules." And it's like, you don't get to have a fucking solemn oath, you fucking retard. You get to fucking follow the law and not
Yes.
kill old men. You get to
Yes.
stop at red lights. You get to
Yes.
fucking do all the shit that the cars do. Because if you want to
Yes.
be on the road, you're now a car.
Yes.
So you get to fucking, and it really offended me. It really pissed me off. Oh, we promised to follow the road rules. You don't get to fucking promise that. You've just got to do that.
Yes.
And because the guy who died had a walking stick, and I've got a walking stick, and bikes nearly fucking kill me all the time. And sometimes they end up with a stick in their back tire. Because spokes just sometimes break. Shit happens. But I haven't done that for a long time. So, I'm seeing a lot of that I'm seeing a lot of that attitude in the United States. And that doesn't creep me out so much as disturb my understanding of wow, that's a picture of stuff.
No, I wanted to show you that because you're talking about obeying laws. You just made me think of this thing I found recently. There's there's a right-wing propagandist by the name of Prager, pays people to do this stuff, and he has a website and a YouTube channel they call PragerU, which they're trying to falsely suggest they're a university, right? They're going to educate the kids on why conservatism is good and progressivism is bad. And this is a thing they posted recently, and it says, if there is no God, murder isn't wrong. You may think it's wrong, but how do you know it's wrong? As Cockhead Prager explains, without God, all morality is mere opinion.
Oh, fuck.
And it's like, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Look,
Because with God,
mhm,
it's still just opinion. Your
yep,
opinion is that God has told you to do. But also, it's like he doesn't get that he's saying, "Oh man, I spend all day thinking about murdering people, and the only thing that stops me is God said it was bad." It's like I think it was the Penn Jillette, the magician, who had the best feedback from that. He says, religious people tell me, without religion, what will stop you murdering and raping as much as you want? And he goes, spot on. I have no religion and nothing stops me. Nothing stops me from murdering and raping as much as I want. And I don't want to
I
murder
don't
and rape at
fucking
all.
want. Don't fucking want. And you know what? The other thing here is this fucking is never brought up. In every society that has ever existed, it is wrong to kill people in your own society. It is
Yes.
always wrong to steal from people in your own society. If you're in the circle, right, the people in the fucking circle are your people, and you
Mm.
don't kill them, you don't hurt them, and you don't rip off their shit,
Yeah.
unless you're the boss. And any other circle that comes near you is fair game. You should kill them, definitely.
Yes. Yes.
Um, because that's our genetic nature. We come from monkeys. That's what they do. That's what apes do. And that's what every society in the world has done since the year dot. Now, every society in the world since way before God, way
Mm.
before God. Remember that most people for like a million years worshipped the ground, the sun, and the moon, and they worshipped the wind and they worshipped the river.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's what God was. Um,
Yes.
and they did that because the main devil was chaos.
Yes.
And they lived in a chaotic world where lions could fucking eat you, and shit
Yeah.
in the night used to come up and steal babies.
Yeah.
So you need to get in a cave with a fire at the cave and a couple of warriors with
Yeah.
sticks sitting there. Some people would be put on watch, but there was always fire at the opening of the
Yeah.
cave to make it a disincentive for animals and other people to turn up. And in every society, there has always been rules about what you do to that society. And then along come the Yahweh kids
Yeah.
who are no more than 5,000, 6,000 years old and
Yeah.
go, oh no, we made all that up. Oh no, we designed all of that. You know, fuck, there's even evidence that the Jewish folks learned circumcision from their Egyptian um, paymasters.
Well,
We
it was
think
an African
today,
thing. It was an
yeah,
African
yeah,
thing.
we think today that the big exodus out of uh, out of
Egypt.
Egypt went on for about 150 years.
Yeah.
And the traveling into Egypt started and it was like 50, 80 years worth of immigration because the environmental uh, uh, situation at home in Judea and Israel was shit.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
it was bad harvests. It was a shitty place to live. It couldn't support all the people there. So they basically went over to Egypt, and the the best we can understand is they weren't slaves per se, but they were wage slaves, like we have today.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. It was
so
basically the only way they could not die was working for the ruling class in Egypt.
So that, fucking they did for shitty
Yeah.
wages,
Yeah.
and they got to put in shitty houses, and but they were surviving, and they were surviving
Yeah.
as a people and a
Yeah.
culture, which is fucking cool actually.
Yeah.
And then conditions back home got better, and they found a lot of people on their land and killed them.
Yes.
Um,
There was a
and
bunch of
also,
that happening according to the Bible.
yeah.
Mm.
However, interestingly, when they actually got to Judea and Israel, um, there was a few peoples there, and the records basically don't say that
Mm.
they killed everyone. And so what is thought is that there was a blending of culture.
Yeah.
They basically moved in with, and effectively the whole people became the Jewish people.
Yeah. Makes sense. Oh my God, you
And
make me think of the old Mel Brooks routine. As soon as you're saying the Exodus, I think Mel Brooks starts with a routine saying he doesn't believe, because you read the Bible, it says that Moses and the Israelites wandered the desert for 50 years. And he's going, that wouldn't happen. Jewish people aren't going to follow someone around aimlessly for that long. He's going, after a
no,
couple of years, there's going to be this. And he starts doing this old Jewish man voice. He goes, hey, Moses, admit it, you're lost. Old, grumpy old Jewish man with the wife trying to shut him up. Don't shush me. He's lost. He's an idiot.
He's an asshole. He's lost. Yep, that's yeah.
Yeah.
A Jewish friend of mine said,
yes.
A Jewish argument, 2 people, 3 arguments.
Yes. They love it. But in the positive way, like one time when I decided to read, one of the classics of modern literature, East of Eden, there's a whole slew in there where some Jewish scholars get involved with re-examining some of the early translations of the Talmud. And it's like, they love a good argument. It's like, what does that word mean? And the word they end up fixating on is timshul, which had been translated as thou shalt, but there's a controversial view that it might mean thou mayest. And it's basically God giving people free will. And it's saying, instead of saying, you will follow all my laws, it's saying, you might choose to do the honorable thing. And there's the argument, does that make you a better person if you haven't been
instructed? That's right. Yeah. Are you a good person?
If someone's just presented you as the possibility. And so timshul becomes a very important word.
Fucking A. And even today, timshul is debated by old guys in hats.
And that's why they do the kosher thing. Like, some people from the outside, I remember reading a thing of Richard Dawkins saying, the fuck is this kosher bullshit? These really intelligent people waste hundreds of hours debating whether or not something's kosher. And go, it's a cultural thing. It's
and remember too, when the kosher laws were made, these people live in a hot fucking place with 45 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Celsius temperatures, right?
Yeah.
And one of the laws is don't eat shellfish. Because if you put a fucking lobster on the pier for 20 minutes, the fucking thing's going to go off.
Yes.
Right? Don't eat pigs. Well, fuck, I don't know about you, but most of the wild pigs I've seen they're full of fucking worms and shit that will hit you. The chefs used to call it the raw pork diet. If you want to lose 20 kilos real fast.
Because you get botulism.
And don't eat shit that's going to hurt and kill you.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I do that? It was fucking God said, okay? And then you go through all of the kosher rules, and then you see why they're there. There's hygiene, there's fucking food safety. There's shit that can save you if you're living in a hot environment. And all of this stuff in context makes sense. All right, now we've moved on a few thousand years. Okay, the kosher stuff doesn't make as much sense in today's modern Melbourne. Actually, still does in a lot of fucking Arabia and northern Africa.
Oh, if you don't have refrigeration and whatnot.
That's right, and they didn't have refrigeration, right? So, then you go, kosher's just bullshit. And it's like, well, hang on, no, it's part of a culture.
Yeah,
and
but the arguing part of it, the philosophy and the debate, that's part of the culture, the debate.
As well, yeah.
Even on The Simpsons, the episode where we find out Krusty the Clown's Jewish and he's been disowned by his rabbi father, Bart keeps having philosophical discussions with the Rabbi Krustovsky. And he wins him over with philosophical discussions. And it's like, that goes over a lot of people's heads. But that's Bart completely buying into this thing in Orthodox Jewish culture. If you present the right argument, you can win anyone over.
Yeah, that's right. You
Yeah.
just got to make sure it stands up,
Yeah.
and you'll be fine, you know. But these guys, you know, in rabbinical school and senior, especially senior, not non-practicing, but
Non-Orthodox.
no, Orthodox. But see
Yeah.
what happens in a rabbi's world, you've got to be in the community doing the rabbi stuff. But there
Yes.
comes a point where you get old enough not to do the community stuff so much, but to do the steering, the directional stuff.
Yeah.
And you get all these old men arguing philosophy as you know, according to the books and the scriptures. And these guys know their Hebrew. These guys know their Greek. These guys
Yeah.
know their English, and these guys know Aramaic, right? So you can't push shit past them. One of the things that's always hilarious is, oh, it's in the original Greek. And I used to piss off a Jewish friend of mine by going, oh, it's in the original Greek, and he fucking used to lose his mind every time. And you know, essentially, yes, they argue over every word because there's no spaces, there's no full stops, and it's all written in a block. So Sumerian, by the way, and so's Babylonian, by the way. Cuneiform blew up people's minds before it was translated. It's also, I've got to say this bit. I love this bit. Cuneiform was invented in a pictographic way, and then in a stylized way, with the triangles and the lines. And what it was for numbers and taxation, right? So the king says, I'm taxing you 15 bags of grain. And then the farmer turns up with 25 bags of grain and says, here's my tax, but I want to put 10 bags in the bank. And
because I had
the
a good
grain,
year.
you know, and the farmer's putting in grain in the bank, you know, every year. Then there's a shitty year, and he says, well, I want 10 bags back. And they go, well, fuck, you know, you're 50 bags up, so sure. And then they say, what do you want to do with the 40 bags? And he says, I want you to loan out the 20 bags at, you know, at 10%. And the king's going to take 2, 3, 4% of that, and then he's going to get the rest. Sweet. And so this is what writing was for. It was for accounts and bookkeeping. And then these clever scribes worked out that if you change the numbers just slightly, you can do different mathematical calculations with them. And if you change the numbers just slightly, you can have a phonetic alphabet. And so all of a sudden, there's writing. All of a sudden, there's prose and poetry. And the first prose ever understood is a Sumerian clay tablet with one scribe complaining to another scribe that the love of his life is going with this other guy who makes more money and is cooler than him, and how's he going to win her over because he's much more educated than this turd who's got this chick, and he's like, he whinges for like 3/4 of this thing, and no one knows what the reply was, but it was very human. And you just go, mate, it's, you know, 8,000, 9,000 years later, and no shit has changed. You know?
Exactly. Well, look, it's about time. Before we go, I want to cover off a couple of things. Gecko had been asking me, they'd sent me links to a YouTube channel called Some More News, which I did already know, but thank you for sending me a link to the recent one. Now, I don't know if you probably know they have a podcast called Even More News. I say they because the YouTube channel is just a guy. He's got like a fake news desk set up, and he talks. He's pretty good. The podcast, his producer is also on it. So I forget their names, but one guy, one girl. And also, I'll throw in another podcast that I'm always talking about lately since someone recommended it to me. Behind the Bastards is absolutely fascinating. I love it. And if you're like me, if you've only just found it, I don't know, there's like 100 episodes of it. It's been going for a couple of years. And there's fucking great content in there. Some of it's really disturbing. Some of it can make you sad. The same guy behind it did a series called It Could Happen Here, where he explores the possibility of a second civil war in America. And it's horrifyingly believable. This guy,
and it's desperately close too. It's not not a given thing that it won't happen. Seriously,
no. He actually says historically, realistically, it's amazing it hasn't happened sooner. A big entity like the US historically would have some sort of significant civil war every 100 years.
Yep. So it's about time. It's about time that it did it again. I mean, especially since what we know as the South is so fucking poor that when they look north and go, well, fuck, you've got all of this and I'm getting shafted, so I'm fucking coming up there and getting some of yours.
Yeah.
And that was what happened last time.
Yeah. And this guy, while, he's fairly even radical left, not just mildly progressive, he's fairly radical left. He was born in the South and he's into guns and stuff, but he's a real lefty. But he really understands people in the South because that's where he grew up. And also the reason I bring that one up is because the team, what he does up, because he's a journalist and he'll do a whole bunch of research on a person or a topic, and then he'll get in a comedian or comedians, and he's basically reading his research to them, and it's the comedian's job to have some funny repartee about it. And
we know nothing about that.
Yes.
We know nothing about that.
He has the pair from Some More News on quite regularly. My personal favorite was probably another Southerner, a comedian, Billy Ray something, but he has that real stereotype Southern accent, like, y'all gonna do that thing. And again, this guy, Billy Ray, he's fairly left progressive, but he's got this real stereotype Bubba accent, which is hilarious. And they're talking, this guy became my favorite. They're talking about the guy who turned essential oil into a multi-billion-dollar scam. And this guy was like, a fake doctor his whole life, was a scammer his whole life. And he had this really amazing fake origin story because he grew up on a farm somewhere in the South. And he had this fake story about how he's chopping down a tree and it fell on him one day, like landed on his head and like broke his skull and 3 vertebrae or something. And he woke up coming out of a coma in hospital and they told him he'd never walk again. But he did this thing where he fasted for, I don't know, hundreds of days. All he drank was like the water and this lemon essence in it or something. And he was magically healed. That's when he started to get onto the idea that essential oils could heal you. And he's a complete scammer. But his origin story is a tree landing on his head. And when the host starts saying this whole essential oil thing really started to pick up, and the Southerner goes, that wasn't with the foreign people, was it? He goes, no, he went to places like LA, big city people who thought they were smart and they got suckered into this. He goes, yeah, because I grew up with people like that and they ain't going to go for that. And, if someone says, hey, this guy says oil's going to save us, and they just go, this guy had a tree land on his head? I don't think you want to listen to him.
Because I seen that with Uncle Abner. And when a tree landed on his head was squashed like a pumpkin. And we had to bury him in a short coffin because his head folded over. It was embarrassing. But, we didn't have to make a long coffin. And there's his cross over there. A tree lands on you, you're going to have a flat bit where the tree is. So, no, I ain't buying your essential oil. Get off my property because I got a banjo in one hand and a shotgun in the other. And guess what's going to follow you?
Yeah.
So, yes, Southerners wouldn't go for that.
Yeah.
No.
And this other guy, he just keeps coming back to it. Like when there's another revelation of some insane scam, some insane bullshit line this guy's come up with, the something I go, yeah, I think they should have thought more about the tree hitting him on the head. It's like that explains everything that a tree landed on his head. But anyway.
Oh, I met a chemtrails guy yesterday.
Well, we can go. It's 5 past, but those are the tips.
Yeah.
More
Right.
news, the Even More News podcast, the Behind the Bastards podcast, all fine entertainment. But thank you, folks, for joining us this
That's very
evening.
nice. Thank you very much for having me on your device. You are nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So hope you look after yourselves. We hope to see you again soon. But we are going to say goodbye for now.
Good
Clicking
night,
the bye-bye
people.
button. Bye.
Bye.